The bright stage lights blazed against the darkened auditorium, painting a halo over the trembling figure of a boy no older than 13. His name, Eli Matthews, flashed across the massive LED screen behind him. To most people, he was just another contestant on America's Got Talent. But behind those shy eyes and nervous hands was a lifetime of pain, loneliness, and courage that no one could see. The microphone stood almost as tall as he was. The vast audience buzzed with anticipation. Some whispered about his thin frame, others noticed the second-hand shoes barely holding together. The judges, 3 celebrities with decades of experience, exchanged uncertain glances. It wasn't the first time they had seen a nervous kid step on stage, but there was something hauntingly fragile about this one. When the music started, Eli froze. His hands clenched into fists. The haunting piano chords filled the air, but he couldn't bring himself to sing. The audience shifted in uncomfortable silence. Then, from the front row, a small girl, no more than 6, cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted, "You can do it." The crowd chuckled softly, and the judges smiled. Eli took a deep breath. And then, he sang. The first note silenced the world. His voice wasn't loud or polished, it was raw, trembling, and heartbreakingly pure. It carried a kind of emotion that didn't come from training, it came from surviving. The lyrics, an original song he'd written himself, spoke of empty rooms, broken toys, and whispered prayers to a mother he never met. Greater than, I sing to the stars, 'cause they're all I had. They watched me grow up, they saw me sad. But I'll keep on singing, I'll make her proud. Even if she's just a face in the cloud. A hush fell over the hall. Even the camera operators forgot their cues. Eli's voice cracked midway through the second verse, but instead of faltering, he pushed through, his tears falling freely. On the screen behind him, an image faded in, a hand-drawn picture of a woman with angel wings, smiling down at a little boy holding a microphone. That picture, the audience would later learn, was the only memory Eli had of his mother. Eli had grown up in a small orphanage on the edge of Milwaukee. He never knew his parents. The matron, Mrs. Turner, told him his mother had died giving birth, and no one ever came to claim him. Other children were adopted. He wasn't. Too quiet, too small, too shy. He watched as families came and went, their laughter echoing through the halls while he stared out the window, clutching that one sketch of his mother. At night, when the other children slept, Eli would sneak into the chapel, sit by the old piano, and hum. It was the only way he knew to talk to the mother he never met. Over the years, those hums turned into melodies, and those melodies turned into songs. Music became his family, his way of being heard in a world that had forgotten him. When a volunteer music teacher, Ms. Carter, discovered him singing one morning, she wept. She knew instantly that his gift was something extraordinary. She helped him record a small video for an online talent competition. Neither of them imagined it would go viral overnight. Within days, a producer from America's Got Talent called. Eli was flown to Los Angeles for the audition, the first time he'd ever been on a plane, the first time he'd ever seen the ocean, the first time anyone had ever told him, "You belong here." Back on stage, Eli finished the final verse. The lights dimmed. The audience was silent, not because they didn't like it, but because they couldn't speak. His voice hung in the air like a fragile memory that refused to fade. Then, one single clap. Another. And another. The entire hall erupted into a standing ovation. All 4 judges were crying. Not the kind of polite tears they shed for a moving performance, these were deep, uncontrollable sobs. The camera zoomed in on them, capturing mascara running, tissues shaking, hearts breaking. Judge Maria Lopez, the usually stoic pop diva, covered her mouth and whispered, that was not a performance. That was a prayer. Another judge, Simon Cole, leaned forward, visibly shaken. "Eli," he said softly, "you didn't just sing, you healed something in this room tonight." Eli blinked at them, confused. "Did I do okay?" he asked, his voice still trembling. Maria stood up, walked across the stage, and pulled him into her arms. "You did more than okay," she whispered through her tears. "You made us remember what love sounds like." The show ended, but Eli's life was about to change forever. By the next morning, his performance had racked up over 120 million views online. People around the world shared his story, calling him the boy who made the judges cry. Donations poured into the orphanage. Letters from strangers flooded in, some offering to adopt him, others simply thanking him for reminding them of their own lost loved ones. But while the world celebrated, Eli stayed humble. He kept sleeping in his small bunk at the orphanage, still writing songs at the piano. Fame didn't matter to him. What mattered was the quiet feeling that maybe, somewhere, his mother was proud. One evening, as the sun set over the orphanage courtyard, Mrs. Turner came to him with a letter. "It's from someone in California," she said softly. Inside was a handwritten note. "Greater than, dear Eli. My name is Grace Monroe. I was your mother's closest friend. I saw your performance, and I knew instantly, you have her voice. She always dreamed you'd sing one day. I've spent years searching for you, but I never knew where you ended up. If you'd like, I'd love to meet you. I was there the day you were born." Eli froze, tears streaming down his cheeks. It was the first real connection to his past he'd ever had. A week later, he stood outside a modest house in Santa Monica. Grace, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, opened the door and gasped. "You look just like her," she whispered, pulling him into an embrace that felt like home. She showed him photos, his mother holding him as a newborn, singing in the same church choir Grace still attended. Eli sat in stunned silence, tracing the edges of the photos like fragile treasures. That night, Grace took him to the beach. "Your mom used to sing here," she said, pointing at the waves. "She'd sing to the sea because she believed the ocean carried songs to heaven." Eli closed his eyes and began to sing softly, the melody of his audition song blending with the sound of the surf. For the first time in his life, he didn't feel alone. Months passed, and Eli was invited to perform again, for the live finals. Millions tuned in to watch. He walked on stage, calmer now, holding the same microphone, but this time, he wasn't trembling. He started by thanking the judges, the audience, and most of all, his late mother. "This song," he said, "is for everyone who's ever felt forgotten. You're not." The lights dimmed, and a new song began, one he wrote himself called, "Home is in the Heart." Greater than, you don't need a house or a name to belong. You just need someone who believes in your song. Love's not a place, it's a sound, it's a start. Home's not a roof, it's the beat of your heart. By the time he finished, the crowd was on their feet again, sobbing openly. The judges didn't even try to hide it this time. Simon wiped his eyes and said, "Eli, you just gave the world its soul back." Maria hit the golden buzzer. Gold confetti rained down like falling stars. Eli looked up, tears glistening in his eyes, and whispered, "Thank you, Mom." In the months that followed, Eli's life became a whirlwind of interviews, concerts, and record deals, but he never left his roots behind. He used his earnings to rebuild the orphanage, turning it into a music academy for underprivileged kids. On the sign above the gate, he had one sentence engraved. "Greater than, every child has a song worth hearing." Children from all over came to learn, to heal, and to sing. Eli taught them not just how to perform, but how to feel. He often told them, "You don't sing to impress. You sing to express." Years later, as a grown man standing on the same talent show stage, but now as a guest judge, Eli watched another nervous child step into the spotlight. She held the same fear he once did, and when she faltered on her first note, he leaned forward and whispered into the mic, "You can do it." The girl smiled, straightened her shoulders, and sang her heart out. The audience wept, again. When she finished, Eli pressed the golden buzzer. As the confetti fell, he looked up at the ceiling lights, almost as if looking beyond them, and whispered, "We did it, Mom." That night, a journalist asked him during an interview, "Eli, what's the secret behind your success?" He smiled gently. "The secret," he said, "is that love doesn't die when people do. It lives in our songs, in our kindness, and in the courage to share both." And somewhere, in the silence after his words, it felt as if the whole world took a breath, remembering, once again, that even the smallest voices can move mountains. Because sometimes, one orphan song is all it takes to remind humanity what love truly sounds like. Moral. No one is ever too broken, too small, or too forgotten to change the world. Compassion turns pain into music, and music turns that pain into hope.